Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with an old time nerd friend of mine from the way back when we first started Nerdarchy, uh, Lee Patterson, GM Juce. You were one of the first people I really connected to. I should say connected with online via social media. I think we kind of like first encountered in the RPG Brigade when Sam was kind enough. Sam Wise, what is it, Sam Seven Wise, Sam something. What is
Samwise 7 RPG? Tim
Yeah,
Harper?
yeah. When he shared us over there and invited us into that community, we met a lot of cool people. Well, we kind of hit it off early on, and started hanging out online.
Right. Yeah, no, it's funny. I was trying to think the other day of how exactly we started talking. And did I find your channel before we started talking, or did we talk? You know what I mean? I was trying to play through that in my head, and I couldn't quite remember how that unfolded. Do you remember at all?
I am not entirely sure because that was literally, we're going on year 4,
Yeah.
and that was like 2,000 videos ago. But I do remember interacting with people in the RPG Brigade, and I think that's how it came about. Because really soon after that, you started another Facebook group.
Yes.
Where there was a lot of games being played, and I was trying to think, like, we've played in a handful of games together. We've played in a couple of Palladium games, Heroes Unlimited, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
We played a couple
Palladium
games.
Palladium was my go-to system. Even early on when 5th edition came out, Palladium was still, for me, number one. It probably wasn't very long after 5th edition that I made the complete conversion, but yeah, Palladium was my bread and butter.
Yeah, I know in the beginning you were playing Palladium and Savage Worlds.
I was just getting into Savage Worlds, and the system seems well designed. It has not stuck for me.
It's one of the ones I have not checked out yet. It's on my list of games to check out.
A lot of people like it. A lot of people claim it's more simple than other games. A lot of people say it's better than 5th edition, surprisingly. I don't agree, but that's everyone's different strokes, different folks, right?
Yeah. Well, a lot is kind of relative too, because
true.
I'm sure if you were to compare the sales of 5th edition and Savage Worlds, the tally of the numbers would tell something completely different.
Right. But here's the question: how many of those D&D players have played Savage Worlds, and how many of those Savage Worlds people have played D&D?
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say not enough.
Both ways.
Both ways. No, I'm an advocate for people playing different systems, different games. So often people go, how do I play this game? How do I make this game happen using this system? I'm like, there's literally a game for that. Why would you bother?
Yes. Yeah, a lot of times you're right. There are systems perfectly tailored to different things. For instance, I have the Dragon Age book. Yeah. I have not played it. I want to play it so bad. And it's 3d6. You have a stunt die. And it, based on reading the whole book like 3 times, it seems like it would fit perfect for a Dragon Age game. Like to repeat the feel of the video games.
That is built off of the Fantasy Age engine.
Yes, correct.
That's another one. There is just so many games out there I want to play and just haven't gotten to.
Right. Well, maybe someone in the chat will run it for us to, a couple days.
Well, there's always a possibility. Did you play in the Fate core game with Robert Over and David Sims? And
No, I never played Fate.
Okay.
I was supposed to, and then I think I ended up having like a listing appointment or something. And so I ended up missing a game that I think it was either Fate or Fiasco or something. I want to say it was like Chepe who was going to run it.
Okay, that's a completely different game.
Okay.
This one was run by David Sims.
Okay. No, I didn't play
that. What? And David Sims to this day is still one of my favorite YouTube viewers. I don't know if he still watches their stuff or not, but man, like everyone is like, yeah, he was like my first subscriber.
I remember because he used to comment a lot like 3-4 years ago, it seems. I don't know what happened because I haven't. I think about him every time I watch your guys' videos, but I don't I have not seen him in a long time.
Yeah,
a couple others too.
I see him around on Facebook, but I just feel like he would comment and support a channel until it like kind of like took off. Then he moves on.
Right, they hit 100 subs. I'm gone.
Yeah. He's like
500 subs.
Like, my work is done here. I've done my good deeds, and now I move on. So. Right.
But
no.
Gosh, what? I wonder what happened with him. David Sems, if you're out there and you're watching this, comment below.
Well, no, it's super. I don't care either way in the sense that if that's his thing or whatever. But I really appreciate that guy because like those first handful of subs are the hardest ones when you're starting a YouTube channel and you're trying to get out there. Now it doesn't matter nearly as much because there's plenty of people watching and we have visibility and people are commenting and liking and sharing, and you guys are all awesome too. But it's just in the early days when you're making videos and you're putting them out there, and literally like it feels like they're just going into the void.
Yeah, nobody's watching. You might get 5 people watching, 1 comment.
You latch onto that. In the early days, you latch onto those like couple of subscribers and those few comments. Like they're like lifelines.
Oh, for sure.
Out in the ocean.
Yeah, because I think when I discovered your channel, you were at maybe 100 subs.
It was the early days.
Because I had 250. I was ahead of Nerdarchy at that time.
That was the early days, and like for 6 months we just put out videos and it was like nothing. Chirp.
Yeah. But once it started going, it was around the time the One Shot group started. I feel like.
Yeah, no, I can tell you exactly when it happened.
5th edition.
5th edition, yeah, because we started. We were doing our thing. It was really generic YouTube, and we talk about Dungeons and Dragons as well, but then like we didn't have nearly as much direction. And then I didn't even know 5th edition was coming out, to be honest with you. I didn't even know. Like we kind of had backed off.
I took part in the playtest and everything.
Yeah, we had backed off in gaming, and even the gaming we were doing was Mutants and Masterminds, and we were playing other games. So we weren't really paying attention to what was going on at Wizards of the Coast. And then I just saw, I don't know even where I saw it, but I saw it was like the 4th of July weekend of 2014. They were releasing the free PDF, the basic rules. And they were releasing that ahead of everything else. And I said, oh, okay. And we started looking at it and we really liked it. Like, I mean, we spent so much time playing in AD&D and 3rd edition. There was no way not to like 5A.
I had binders of the playtest stuff. Like I had the player section that was probably almost an inch thick, all the monsters, and then the DMs section, and then it had modules. They had like, I don't know, I want to say like 8 modules, maybe 10 modules. And like the Minds of Madness, I think, was one. And in fact, I might even still have those, but oh, it was so good. So good. I loved it because I got a bunch of free stuff. And that's actually what got me into 5th edition before it came out. Yeah, the Minds of Madness was one of them. I still have some of these. The Isle of Dread. Yeah, I only had those 2 printed. But yeah, it was so awesome. They did a good job promoting with the playtest stuff.
Well, it super helped to make a clean game. So we got our first question.
Okay.
I'm gonna butcher this first name for sure. Rado? I don't know. I'm not definitely not saying. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm an amoeba that's barely crawled out of the primordial sludge. I can't pronounce anything.
What's the name?
I'll give you the question. I'll put the name in the chat. So the question is how to handle unexpected interruptions from your PC.
Oh, Eduardo.
Eduardo, yeah, that's what I thought. But I'm like, shouldn't there be a W in there somewhere? But I've seen it spelled that way too, with a W.
Right.
How do you handle unexpected interruptions from your PC into your stories? That's called D&D and role-playing games for the most part.
Right. Unexpected interruptions from your player character into your stories. Does he mean like a disruptive player, or does he just mean like a player that's changing things up, though? You know what I mean? Like taking narrative control.
I mean, I get, you know, I kind of took it. I'm taking it as the players doing something unexpected in the game that's disrupting or derailing the story that you have going on.
You go with it.
Yeah.
Always. At least for a minute.
I would say.
Yeah. You go explore with where their mind's going. Yeah.
And this is the part when you have to do it on the fly and ad lib. Maybe you'll get back to where they were before. Maybe you'll be able to incorporate it later in the story. But it is always better to try and they give you.
I had a home group that Nate from WASD 20 was in, and we ended up, I had a story that I kind of had in mind, and they were traveling between towns, and they came across some guards, and they killed them. And then they killed all like the guards. Well, so then I was like, well, how can I twist this? And it ended up being that there were some bandits off to the side that were also posing as guards, but like all this stuff kind of transpired from it. And it ended up being probably 3 or 4 sessions of just exploring what they did that I didn't expect. And then it ended up causing wars between the towns. So that was a lot of fun. We never finished that campaign, like many campaigns, but it was going a direction I did not expect, and it changed my homebrew world quite a bit. It was pretty cool.
So is that a common thing for you guys too? Like for us, that we've been notorious for never completing games.
Yeah, you know, stuff happens. Like that group, we ended up moving back to this side of the state, about 2 hours away. We had talked about originally playing like online, but we never did. And gosh, I had a group. It was a new group that I was trying to get going over here, and we played 2 sessions, and just personalities, I don't know if they meshed well or what. One of the guys' wives ended up taking a job in theater that took her weekends away. Another couple, the wife or the fiance at the time, didn't really like D&D. She felt weird, I guess, playing D&D, and her fiance, like my friend Alex, wouldn't play if she didn't play, so he backed out. So that kind of killed that group, which then we morphed into a different group with the remaining people, added some people. And that's a game that I was running too. And we haven't said it's dead, but we haven't played in like 6 months with that group because my wife started running a campaign for a couple people from that group and Andre Martinez, which I air on my channel. And so we've been playing that, and that's been awesome. My wife is very, not railroady, but she has a story and we stick to it no matter how much we try to throw wrinkles in there. And we don't do it on purpose, but she gave us a coin that allowed us to teleport. And so she had an adventure planned that was going to be about two game nights. And at the start of the one, we were kind of in some trouble. And so we used the portal to teleport us back to the one player's noble family's castle, which she had nothing prepared for that. And that whole session was just doing that. And the next session wasn't what she expected. And I don't think we've completed what she originally had planned yet. So
you got the missus running games online now.
My first D&D game was with her running it. The very first one I ever played.
No, I know she gamed and played, but now she's playing them online.
It's a in-person game, but we broadcast it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I film it with my camera and my microphone and our little gaming setup. The sound sucks. Camera angles don't show our miniatures very well. But it's more for us, so we can go back and watch it and see what happened.
Essentially, like the Nerdarchy videos that we do in person.
Probably. I think I've watched like 5 minutes of one before, maybe a little longer. Yeah,
so bad I cannot watch anymore.
Yeah, in general, like live plays are too long. I don't usually have that kind of time. I want to watch your guys' Save or Dice. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, I love the graphics. All the players. I love your guys' players. Like DFC, really good voices. Your character is an alligator? No, he's the alligator. Your character's the orc. I love the stuff I've seen that you did with that. Cody Lewis, like all you guys, I just love your guys' channels, and so I'd love to watch that. I just don't have that kind of time.
that game has been a ton of fun for us. We had a great time with it. Last night was actually the finale for the season, and so what we're doing over there is every season we're going to have a different DM and run a new campaign. So Will Jones from Encounter Roleplay is going to be running DMing for season 2, and he's a really good DM, and he's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to that channel too.
So Andre Martinez lives near you?
No, he lives like over near you, kind of. He travels for work. Yeah, he travels for work, and so right now he's got a contract that's about an hour away from me. Actually, he's got, I think, 2 contracts. One is an hour west. Another one's like an hour and 15 minutes northeast. And so he comes to town for 2-3 weeks at a time. And so when he does, we've met up in Ann Arbor and had dinner. He's come over and played games. I think just the one D&D campaign. We're pretty far into it. We try to schedule it around when he's in town. There's times when he has to miss, or another player has to miss, but the show must go on. We still play, so because we're at about once a month. We play about once a month.
Well, that's why I was confused, because you're like, no, we don't play online. We play in person. And I know Andre Martinez is on the East Coast down south.
Yeah, isn't he in Virginia?
He might be Virginia, or one of the Carolinas. He actually used to be from New York too, New York City.
Yes, yeah. So, I want to say Brooklyn.
Yeah. So that's why I was a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I knew your wife is a gamer, and did she get you into gaming?
No, she got me into D&D. I was into Palladium since I was like 12. The problem is I could never find anyone to play with. So for me, gaming was just creating characters when I felt creative, and that was about it. I'd played online a little bit. I tried to latch onto a D&D group in high school, but they were too busy, or not too busy, too full. They played on like an air hockey table, and I was friends with all of them. It's just they had like 7 or 8 people, and they even with that many felt like they had too many. After high school, I kind of quit paying attention, and then one day I stumbled across something, and I started playing Palladium Books games in their chat on their website, which they still have a chat through their webpage. And there's like 30 people that go there and sometimes play games or just talk smack or whatever. But I used to play there. I did play-by-post games of Palladium Books. And it wasn't until I met my wife. So I got away from it completely probably around 2006. About 3 years out of high school. I just was like, hey, I can't find anyone to play, whatever. So I just kind of had the books in my closet. And it was all Heroes Unlimited and like a couple Rifts books. And around 2010, my wife and I started dating. We moved in together. And when we got after we moved in together, we moved to a new apartment. And she had a bookshelf that she decided to put I said, hey, I have these books. Is it okay if I put these out? And she said, sure. And so I put them out, and then I noticed she had D&D books, and I'm putting my Palladium books right next to them. And
that's good. How long were you guys dating before you realized you were both gamers?
Let's see. We moved in together in about 4 months, and I would say we started dating like in January of 2010. It was probably August. So 8 months maybe.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm putting the books there. I'm like, wait, Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, I've been trying to play this game for years.
And what year was that?
2010. And she had 2nd edition, and she had 3.5.
That's crazy.
And she only had like the core books, so she didn't have a lot of the other stuff. And then that's when I found out she had played with her siblings. Her siblings come from split families. She's the only one from her mom and dad. But her mom had some kids and her dad had some kids, and they didn't get along until they started playing D&D together. And so once they played D&D together, it brought them all together. That was like their common thing, and it was 2nd edition. And then she tried to play it when she went off to college, but then a lot of the guys were creepers, just the typical, hey, what kind of armor is your bard wearing? And just, I don't know. They made her play a bard, I think is what she said. I did an interview about it. But yeah, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so then we got a group with my sister. So my sister had just gotten married, and I didn't go to the wedding, but my girlfriend at the time did. So we ended up, it was Paula. So they they actually met through like MySpace roleplay stuff. Like
what is this MySpace thing?
Yeah, right. So it was on MySpace. They did there would be dedicated MySpace pages where in the comments and in the blog post section, I guess, I don't know, I didn't do this, but there would be the blog post stuff, I think, would be different rooms of what like your role playing and stuff, and you can role play with all the people through the comments. And it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think. And so that's how they met. And he was in England and she was here, and then they got married after like a couple years of all that stuff. And so we thought, hey, why don't you guys come play with us? We'll play 2nd edition D&D, because that was my wife's preferred edition. And we'll play Heroes Unlimited, because that's what I wanted to play. So I ran Heroes, she ran D&D. D&D was more fun for everybody, probably because I sucked at running a game at that time. Had no idea what I was doing, really. And so we played more D&D than we played Heroes Unlimited. Played probably 5 sessions before my sister got pregnant actually my wife got pregnant with our daughter, and then my sister got pregnant. And so once they were both pregnant, we couldn't make it work. And they lived an hour away. So, and then we never played again. And we're actually about to start playing again here soon with me running a campaign for them. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
That is such a cool story. And it's really odd and weird to me in some ways, but totally digging it. My wife is totally not a gamer. Like, she's tried a couple times, but it's just not her thing.
Yeah.
So, and even then we did it with we did it with the kids and played a game with them. It didn't stick with my daughter either. But the boy is now a gamer, so as you already know that.
Yes. Yeah. I got to play with him at Gen Con. That was awesome. Yeah. My daughter is 6, and I've played a handful of D&D games with her. And it's not, I don't give her a character sheet. I actually wrote down the stats for her character on a piece of paper that I keep. And then I give her options. So I'm like, hey, you're in combat. You can do 4 things. You can fireball, hit him with your sword, this, or you can run. I give her all these different options. And then I ask her if there's anything else she can think that she would want to do. And sometimes she does it. She'll be like, oh, what about this? And I'm like, okay. And I just let her do it. And I let her control like 3 or 4 miniatures, because we do on a miniature thing. And she has a blast. And then afterwards, she still wants to play. So I leave my miniatures out. And she just plays by herself. Yeah, she loves it. Uh-oh, you cut out. There you go.
Yeah, it's a little in and out. I don't know if it's my internet, your internet, or Google itself. So first of all, Bethany, thanks for asking your question. I'll take a look at it and see if it's something we can help you with. And during the live chats, we always take questions. The only exception might be if we get like Mike Merles or someone that's really high profile, then we tend to take less questions and be like, just let them talk if that's what they want to do.
You're saying I'm not on the level of Mike Merles?
You're close. You're really, really close.
That's what I would say. I'm like way up there, man.
You've been edged out by just a hair by Mike Merles.
Hey, I've had retweets by Chris Perkins. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. That was a big day. It was a big day for us at Nerdarchy when those guys followed us back.
Oh, see, I'm not followed back. I don't think.
So Bethany's question, well, advice really. I have a bit of a problem player who insists on his interest in this game, but refuses to pay any attention to the other player's actions, among other problems. Yes, that stuff is really tough because that's like, they're not in-game problems. They're always, group dynamics and social issues more so than anything to do with the game. And the only thing you can ever do is have a conversation with them and talk to them, maybe ask them why, they're not as attentive. Maybe they have ADHD or any of the other number of letters that are floating around. When I was a kid, those things didn't exist. You were just a bad kid. But no, it really just comes down to having a conversation with the individual, talking to the group. There is some things too, like depending on whether it's an in-person game or an online game, I think that affects the dynamic as well. And you could ask them what would make them more attentive to the game that's going on. And then there is like this whole other thing of sometimes some people are just kind of cancerous to a social environment, and there isn't a really easy or good solution, and sometimes you have to cut them away.
Yeah, that sucks, because one of the best games I've played in had a lot of player interaction. You know, the very first season of Provokers, we interacted together all the time. The game I'm playing in now that my wife runs, one of the best things about it that has made this game the most fun in-person campaign I've ever played is the fact that we interact a lot. We bicker, we, insult each other, but not to the point where it's detrimental to the group. You know what I mean? Like, our characters have conflicting personalities. We have two nobles. We have me, who's a barbarian, so they look down on me, even though my character's smarter than both of them. And then we have another character, Andre's character, who is kind of he's like a drow, I think a warlock. Yeah, I think he's a warlock. Something like that. But, and we always are interacting together as players. And I think that makes it so much more fun. So when you have one player that's not, as another player, you almost feel like maybe they don't like you and they just don't want to interact with you. Or, it causes so many problems. So I agree with what Dave said. Pull him aside and talk to him.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. You did bring up a good point. Like, is it possible too for the other players to maybe engage their character and pull them into the game more? But if that doesn't work, and if you can't have an adult conversation with them and work it out that way, then unfortunately that doesn't leave a lot of room for fixing the problem. It's like either they want to work on the problem and acknowledge it, or they don't.
Right.
And by the way, Zarif Gaming, your one question per live chat is self-imposed. So you guys know.
Oh, he's putting restrictions on himself?
Yeah. Well, there must have been one live chat where he was asking a lot of questions. But for a portion of it, no one else was really asking questions. So when some other people did, like, I skipped some of his questions to get to some other people, and I was and he had messaged something about it, and I was like, well, we answered a bunch of questions, and some other people are here talking, so we're gonna get to their questions too now. And then he imposed the one question per chat.
No, you should have a one question minimum per every user.
Yeah, there you go. That might be rough, especially if we get a couple hundred people on here, which has happened a couple times.
You don't have to read them.
Oh, yeah.
You could do a GM 911 or something off of some of them. Although the chat actually goes away after this goes live, or after this renders, doesn't it? So all these comments are gone, aren't they?
Go away afterwards.
Yeah, that stinks.
Bethany, I hope you're talking in game and not out of game. I've talked to him about it outside the game. He won't admit there is a problem. Also, he keeps pointing guns at other PCs. He tries to function completely autonomously.
Ooh.
Yeah, I really hate to do this, but at certain points you just got to go, maybe there's someone else that would actually appreciate the spot at the table more and enjoy it.
Sometimes there's addition by subtraction, unfortunately.
Yeah. And also too, like, you always have to look at it as, not just the conflict it's causing for you personally at the table, but is it also a problem for the other players? If they're bringing it up, then it's obvious to bother another people too. So then it's like the game is going to get better for everybody if you just ditch that person.
Yeah, because if the other players don't have a problem with it, maybe it's something that you can just kind of not necessarily get over, but you can learn to go with it, understand it, and not let it bother you, or find ways to screw with him.
Yeah. Well, and also the idea that they're playing this lone wolf type character all the time too.
Yes.
It's like, this is a group event. Like one of the best things to do with the lone wolf character, especially if they want to stay when the group is going, or they want to go when the group is staying, is to let them and never go back to whatever they're doing. and just kind of like push it off to the side. And hopefully at some point they will get the point that you want to interact with the group.
Yes.
You know, not, and I mean, we've done things where like we've literally had a player go, hey, I want to do all this stuff off on my own with my character. I do not want to take away time from the table. Can I go with the rest of the group and play a veteran from the NPC section of the monster manual and continue with the story that's going on while my character is taking care of this other thing for this session?
Right.
And Ted was DM in that game, and he was like, sure, why not? So, yeah, so you can also do things like that where it's like, oh, well, your character's off doing whatever it is they're doing, but if you want to interact with the session, then you have to figure out how to be here with this group of people because this is a story that's going on.
Right. And then, hey, Wednesday night, why don't you come over, bring your character sheet, and we'll play off your one-off. Like, that would be awesome.
So there's some things like that. Like, I am a firm believer in, to a certain extent, you have to train your players to kind of like what you expect at the table. And also too, like, this is where social contracts and session zeros can be really useful.
Social contract is such a dirty word, though. It makes it sound like you're putting something in writing, cutting your hand, signing it in blood. Really, it's just an agreement, a 20-minute agreement that you make before playing.
Contract and session zero.
Yeah.
Like, there just might be topics as a person you don't want in the game. And I think that would be the place to speak up and have it. Whatever it is, whether it's really dark stuff and adult stuff, or whether or not you want PvP in your game, or it could be even simple things like, hey, we have dinner before we start the game, before we come here and play, so we're not gonna have eating at the table. Or no, as a group we order pizza every time, or whatever you guys do. And so everyone has the same expectation and knows what's going on.
Right.
So Ed Does Everything has a question, and then actually we'll take this question and we'll go into the roll call as well. We're past the halfway mark. How structured are your sessions? How much do you come prepared with? I'll let you lead with this one.
It depends. I've come into sessions completely unprepared, unfortunately, and I've come into sessions completely over-prepared. I like to have about a 2-page outline, ideally, for a 4-hour session. And that isn't anything about stat blocks or anything like that, but what I try to do is I think of where did we leave off last time? They left off in this cave. Perfect. I know exactly where they're at. I know exactly where they're going then, right? They're going to finish the cave most likely. And so, maybe it's 5-room dungeon. Boom. But where are they going to go after the cave? Are they going to find something in the cave that's going to lead them somewhere else? So then I try to prepare the possible places they might go. Is this cave in the open? So they could go to any city. What are the closest couple cities? Why would they go there? What might they find out? And then I come up with 3 things for each possible place. And that usually ends up being about 2 pages. And then the other thing I do is on the back of my 2-page outline, because I print on single-sided, that's where I'll typically write like my monster stats. And I don't take stuff straight from a book usually. I'll just say, oh, it's a goblin. I know it has this, boom, boom, boom. I add some stuff or I remove stuff. And, I go from there and I kind of plan roughly what I would think would be, say, in the cave. What might they encounter if they go to that city? Is it going to be a bandit? If they throw me for a loop, maybe they pick a fight with a guard on the road and decide to slaughter them all, I might take the same stats as something else that I've already written down and add some armor to it, or, add a different weapon. And that's about all I do for my prep. It's, fairly straightforward. And then, where's the arc going if I'm planning a big arc?
I generally write down a couple sentences maybe anymore and kind of ad lib from there. Although I must say, I ran the game for Think Geek, and I did type up like a page and a half of stuff. Again, much like you, I didn't do any monster stats, but I do actually, one of the things I do enjoy, and I don't get to do too often when we run our in-person games anymore, because we use my computer to film from. I don't get to use it. So I do like running from my laptop. Like, I like to keep some notes there. I love D&D Beyond. So instead of taking monster notes, what I'll do is I'll just open tabs with the different monsters I want to use, and I can just pull them up. And in their home brewery, like if you wanted to change one of the monsters, you can do that and pull that up. So it's really convenient. I used to really enjoy,
right,
in third edition, they would allow you to buy the digital copy of the book as well as the physical, and I'd always buy both. Because, you know, if I'm prepping or, you know, just around the house, I like to have the book to read. But for the game, I would just keep tabs open for pages that I was going to go through. It really allows me to be super lazy in my GMing, so I like that.
I can't do PDFs. I have a ton of PDFs. Usually it's to preview something, you know, before spending the $50 if I'm going to do it. But yeah, I can't read PDFs. It's just, I stare at a screen most of the time in my day-to-day life. You know, I'd rather have a book.
No, and I agree. That's what I mean. Like, I like to have the book to read, but when I'm running and I just need like monster stats or a map or something, I like having that digitally.
Gotcha. Do you use a computer at the table?
I used to a lot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't do that.
And,
I can't.
And, like, my one fame to claim is master and copy and paste. So,
right. Yes. Yep. I do that.
It just makes it quick and easy.
So you like D&D Beyond?
I do.
It seems very limited in what you can do with it, though. It doesn't have a tabletop. So, for example, if you're doing Roll20, you know, you have to buy the stuff for Roll20 as well as D&D Beyond, as well as your physical copies.
That's because it's not a virtual tabletop. It's a database.
Right. But I mean, like, it'd be cool if you could somehow use the stuff you bought in D&D Beyond over on Roll20.
Yeah, you can sort of, but there's not integration. Fantasy Grounds is actually talking with D&D Beyond. So both Doug has said it and Adam has said it. I don't know what that's going to look like, but they're talking about being able to import your character from D&D Beyond to Fantasy Grounds, which
that's a nice step.
Cool. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. The problem is, like, it's all licensing, right? So everyone like, oh, why is Watts doing this? It's because Watts doesn't own that. You know, it's like, and they're not, you know, they're partners in the sense that it's a licensing thing. Also, we've been getting a lot of, hey, why don't you have the Orc Pub guy on? And a lot of angst at Wizards of the Coast because Orc Pub, they're having legal issues. Because guess what, folks? When you break the law and you steal stuff, other people really don't like it, especially if it's their livelihood. So that can be a little bit of an issue. Orc Pub could have maybe went the route of some of these other guys and got the licenses, but then you probably wouldn't like the product because then they'd have to charge money for it because they had to pay to make it and bring that stuff in. So what are you going to do? It's a catch-22.
Yeah. I kind of wish they had, like, when you bought the physical book, like a serial code or something that then you could plug into D&D Beyond and plug into all these other things, and then it would just, you could have it still.
Yeah, but the problem
that would be nice.
The problem is they're separate companies, and
I know.
Like, one company has to pay to develop everything.
You mean I can't have my cake and eat it too?
No, you can't. Not in this instance. The only way that would work is if it was done in house somehow, and then they would have to justify the expense. I mean,
well, they'd have to pay. They'd have to pay Roll20. They'd have to pay Fantasy Grounds, and they wouldn't be getting much out of it unless they charge an extra $5 for each book or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Right, and then people would complain, why is my book $75?
They already complained that it's $50.
I know.
I just watched a review the other day. I'm not going to say who or what, but they were saying that the book's worth $30 to $40, and you know, it says it's $50. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, so, on Amazon you can get them significantly less, but it's true. Everything should be free, and Mike Merles should probably live in a box on the side of the road with his family, with his little baby, and eat out of garbage cans and just pump out, D&D material for everyone for free.
Right. Speaking of Mike Merles, never before have I watched so much or listened to so much about Mike Merles. I am so excited about the Xanathar's Guide to Everything that every time I see Mike Merle's name, I'm like, click. You know, I'm just there. This book has me so excited. I can't wait.
It was really fun having him on, having him talk about stuff, and it's funny that they're like statisticians now, where they have to like, all right, what is the percentage of people that like this or didn't like this? Well, is that
70% is just the line? Yeah.
Is it close enough for us to revisit that and maybe get it up there a little bit more?
Right.
Kyle has a very important question.
Okay.
Playing on Friday, should I play an Oath of Ancients Orc Paladin who is vowed to protect the beauty of the world, or a gnome druid that uses fire to purge the rot from the world?
I mean, it's kind of the question answers itself. The paladin, of course, and not because it's a paladin, but because it's not a gnome.
Oh, your answer.
I'm just playing. I played a gnome in one of Dave's his Maze of Mandoon game online once. So
that's true. Yeah, you played an Eldritch Knight.
Yep. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, no. Both concepts sound fine. I mean, ultimately, I think it depends on what you want to play. The paladin for me would be more fun. You're going to be more adept in combat, I feel, from an offensive standpoint. Whereas the druid would be cool because, it's a druid and you have a lot of options as a druid. So, it depends on, do you want the utility of a druid or do you want to be a freaking tank that can mess stuff up?
Do you want to smite or do you want to burn things is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, they both have their pros and cons for sure.
I think both of them would be fun to play, and both of them are not typical for race class combos. So either one of them would be fun.
The role play, he's already got the concept of the role play down. Yeah. Like an orc that's about beauty or a gnome that's about making things ugly. Like I could see a lot of fun stuff with that, especially with the right group of people.
Roll a D6, man.
Right. Evens for paladin, odds for druid.
Right.
And druids are just odd hippies.
The next time you need a player, run the other. Or I mean, because you have two really cool concepts that you're eager to play either. That's one of those cases where you could wait and see what the rest of the party does, and be like, okay, which one of these is going to fit in better with the group.
Maybe you could talk to your DM about being a polymorphed dragon that's got a personality disorder and he only thinks he's a half orc or a gnome, and just switch back and forth. I mean, it's going way outside of the box. Asking for a lot of help from the DM there.
So Cthulhu Kid, how do you hand out inspiration? Do you? What kind of rewards? I use advantage and the D6.
Wow. So I'm assuming I'm going to take the lead on this one too. I forget a lot of times to award inspiration. And so sometimes when I remember, it sometimes feels like I'm probably favoring like the best RPer at the table, or you know what I mean? So it's really hard. And if I notice that I'm always giving inspiration to the same person, I'll sometimes just not give it. A lot of times I retcon back and say, hey, you all have inspiration. But I try to do it for creative use of maybe your abilities. For example, a lightning bolt into some, like a puddle is always a good one. I also, in my games, I have I don't remember where I got this from, but I call them Hollywood moments. Like if I could envision it happening in like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or something, or some other action movie, then I'll probably reward it with inspiration. Because I want people to do more than just run up and hit it with their sword.
No, you know what we started doing in our in-person games anyway that helps is Ted has a jar of pirate coins.
Yes.
And we physically give out representations because I can see them sitting in front of me. And otherwise, I am horrible about giving it out as well. The only thing we do different with inspiration is we don't do the rule of you can only have one. You either have it or you don't. We let people stockpile it and use it whenever they want to use it.
I like that. I have poker chips that I give out. And I also have paper inspiration things I printed off from a D&D group once. But I do the poker chips usually. Yeah,
I feel it has to. So now I recall that I asked for roll call, but never went into it. So I might as well jump in there and get that out of the way. So we got Doug in Cleveland, our staff editor, Nerditor, I think is what he's going by nowadays. We've got Uncle Peter in Toronto. We got Raven coming to us from the OZ. We have Redicio, New Mexico with Zareth Gaming. Kyle is in Castlegar, British Columbia. We got Wales with TrueMate. Dallas, Texas with Ed Does Everything. AJ Kinney, Lopez Island, Washington. We've got Mordor in the house with Mr. X. I'm always leery of those ones because I'm like, the Wi-Fi there is just probably not too good. It's probably like orcs and goblins and cell towers just don't mix. We got Ghetto Stabulous, Lafayette, Louisiana. We got Texas in the house with Bethany. We got Cthulhu Kid, Innismouth, Massachusetts. We've got Regilio in Utah. We've got Alex in Orville, California. We got Mexico City in the house with Eduardo. Geekin' Undies is in Circleville, Ohio. We've got Renee coming to us from Denmark. And all right,
Pennsylvania, Romania.
Oh, nice. Did they start chiming in again?
Yeah.
After they realized I was ignoring them. Yeah, yeah, Romania. I don't know if we've had any Romania on here before. That might be a first. With Christopher.
Nairobi.
He's in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's like an hour and a half from here. Not too bad. You're somewhat close in the bigger scheme of things.
The Shadow fell. You can't miss that one.
Jose is in Tampa. We've got Dylan Black in Charlotte. We have Colin in
Nairobi.
We have Chattanooga in the house with Fish Island. Salem, Massachusetts in the house with Comrade 2261. And we've got France as well with Arkan Saga.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that one. You got me.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of that. So, and Josh is in Arkansas. So that's
that many people.
Yeah, there's like
it feels like people just keep saying just random locations because there's no way there's that many people watching this right now, are they?
We got just under 50.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Towards the end they start trickling in. I think it would be so much better if Google actually like gave them notifications, but I don't think they do most of the time.
You can set notifications on YouTube. There's a bell.
Yeah.
And you can have it always like, for instance, if Nerdarchy or Master the Game is your favorite YouTube channel, you go and you click the bell, and when they put a video up, it'll email you and alert you and everything.
So there you go, guys. I feel like some of the people say they have their notifications on and they still don't get them. But yeah, go find the bell and click the bell. Perhaps that will help. Speaking Master of the Game, like we haven't even really talked about why you're on.
Well, so yeah, I had. When we were at Gen Con, I was talking to Cody from Taking 20 about my YouTube channel because I stayed in the same room with him. He actually paid for the room and everything. It was awesome. And, the first night he came in from the airport, he's like, so what are you doing with your channel? What's going on with that? And so we just started talking, and he's like, well, what do you like about your channel? Because I told him there's things I just don't like about my current channel. Like there's content that I've put out that I'm just not that into. And, there was a point where because I went through such a dry spell with moving twice and, everything going on, with my friend's divorce and being there for him and changing jobs multiple times, it was one of those things where I just sometimes would put out content as opposed to doing something I loved. And so I felt like it just didn't have the focus on where I wanted it to go. And so when we were talking, I said, well, I like doing videos like my old D&D basic series and things like that. And he's like, oh, okay. And so then I came up with what I wanted to do on my own and pitched it to him. And he's like, that sounds really cool. And what it is it's my channel isn't necessarily going to be D&D focused all the time, but starting out it is, because that's the game I play. And so what I want to do starting out is build guides, not just like Nate from WASD 20 has the how to make a character down, but I want to talk about optimizing, a certain type of character. And it doesn't mean you can't role play it. It doesn't mean, that just because you're making an optimized character, it has to create problems for your DM. Now I'm going to mix some humor into it. I'm going to kind of, in some of my videos pitch that, hey, this is going to tell you how to wreck your DM's game. That's not how I play a game, but for the entertainment of the channel, I'm going to throw that stuff in there. but ultimately, and I'm going to put in the end how you can role play it as well, without it just being a build. I mean, you still have a character. So videos are going to be about 10 minutes long. And it's not just going to be for players. Eventually, so my first series is going to be the core 4: fighter, cleric, wizard, rogue. Because that's the 4 iconic player characters. And I'm going to touch on different types of fighters, and each one's going to be its own video, different types of clerics and stuff like that. Then I'm going to go into some of the other classes, and all of the first few series are going to be player's handbook only. Eventually, I'm going to incorporate Volo's guide, Xanathar's guide. I also would like to do DM stuff. If I'm teaching the players how to make these OP characters, I'm going to teach a DM how to make a realistic encounter with traps that's not just throwing a bunch of crap at them to counter it. I'm going to teach them how to combat these types of players. It's not adversarial. It's just teaching them how to make it challenging and still fun for the whole group. And allows you to give spotlight to different players in different sessions. And so that's kind of the idea for the channel. It's optimizing both from a player standpoint, a DM standpoint. It's not telling you it's the only way to play, because it's not. If you want to make a fighter with 9 strength, be my guest and have fun. It's ultimately we're telling stories. We're not beating a game. We're telling stories. And I think it'll be a fun spin on something that nobody else is really doing in our community.
I remember we had a conversation and you were like, I want to do videos on power gaming, essentially. Yeah. And it's a bit of a dirty word, right? It gets a lot of flack, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of the game. People, it's a word for a reason, and people enjoy making the best whatever they can, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. And just because you do that doesn't mean you're not a role player. Like, everyone always separates role playing from people that power game, and as if it's exclusive. Like, you can only power game or you can only role play. You can do both.
Right. Oh, I 100% agree. We, back when I did a podcast with Andrew Knapp a while back, we were known as power gamers. But if anybody's ever played with us, like my gnome character in your game was not power gamed. Most characters I make are not optimized. I like to make something that they're good at, so they have their specialty, but they're not ever game breaking. And even if they are, I made a halfling barbarian that was almost impossible to hit, but he wasn't dealing massive damage or anything. He wasn't, but he was a fun character to play. I just like playing with mechanics and toying with the idea, and I think it'll be a lot of fun.
We do a lot of videos that are like that, and we talk about a lot of things. And when we discuss things on the channel, a lot of times we talk about things from an optimized standpoint, or this is clearly unoptimized, or this class is underpowered. But then if you actually pay attention to what we actually do in our games, we'll be like, the Wild Mage Sorcerer sucks. It is the fucking worst sorcerer you can possibly play, and half our group wants to play that, right?
Right. You like to throw the little curveball, the random events in there. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, you've played with me what, 5-10 times, so it's all about the concept still, but mechanics have always been entertaining to me. What can you do with this set of rules? What boundaries can you push? That's fun to me. So,
well, some people like to fiddle with the bits, right? And that's that's exactly what it is. And we do that with a lot of our builds. It's fun to do. But at the same time, too, we also play unoptimized characters, and that can be fun too. We always bash the Gish. Any kind of Gish, right? Mm-hmm. They're fun to play. But anytime your character can hit it with his sword or cast a spell, he's probably better off casting a spell.
Yeah, you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, or do something from far away, or do something cool.
Control. Yeah.
The only time hitting it with your sword is a better option is if you can hit it with your sword 4 times.
Right. Your multi-attack, yeah.
Yeah, so multi-classing is suboptimal, or certain builds the blade lock at a certain point, hitting something with a weapon is pointless and compared to casting a spell. Ted started off with his character being a blade lock, and it was a high level game, and the concept was cool. But then it's like, oh, I mean, and this is pre like the new Unearthed Arcana where they gave you some cool things you could do with using a blade lock. But it's like I could cast a spell as a 5th level slot, or even just using my cantrip, which I'm going to hit it get to hit like 3 or 4 times with, or I can try and hit it one time with my sword.
Right.
Yeah. So, and not only that, like it's a charisma based character, so to have a high strength as well is going to be tough anyway.
Right. You got to pick and choose what you're going to be good at.
Or like one of my favorite additions to 5e is the College of Valor Bard, right? It's conceptually it's so cool. But literally, like your package that you get for the most part is access to more weapons, armor, and an extra attack is not nearly as good as what you can do with the College of Lore Bard.
I have yet to play a Bard.
Ever? Well, this is the first edition where I've played a Bard once or twice in like one-shot games. But this is the first edition where I'm like, yeah, the Bard is a really solid class.
I was going to say, like, there isn't... The only class I am not really a fan of, which I've played a couple of, is the Ranger. Everything else in 5th edition, I love. And that's part of why Xanathar's Guide is so interesting to me, because I think they offer some different Ranger things that, for me, will make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, they're gonna. So. My only issue with the Ranger has been the Ranger focuses heavily on the exploration pillar of the game, which I feel like maybe a lot of tables don't focus on.
I think it's hard to. For a DM, a lot of new DMs, especially, they don't know how to. And I probably fall into that camp a little, where I struggle to really make it exciting for the group. I've seen Sam question it before. How do you make it exciting, for the whole group? It's hard, I feel. You're probably better. You've got 30 years experience.
EVJ has actually put out a series that's basically focuses just on that from Critical Hits Publishing.
Yeah, I've got one of them, the Survival Guide. I have that one.
Yeah. So someone is trying to address that as we speak.
Yes. Yeah, I think it can be fun. The part of the thing about the Ranger that makes it such a pain in the butt, though, is that it's automatic successes on things. Like, oh, you can get food and water for your group of 5. Oh, okay. So how do you know what I mean? If you're going against the thing that they're good at, it kind of feels like you're screwing over that player. Like, oh, yeah. You just can't get water here. Oh, well then, I don't know. I don't like automatic successes. I think that's kind of, not fair. I think give them advantage on their survival check for getting food and water, rather than you automatically can get water, food for a group up to 5 as long as you're in your favored terrain.
Not being able to get lost, stuff like that. Now, combat-wise, I think the Hunter stacks up nicely to any of the other classes. I think they're fine. My issue has always been the Beastmaster, and I've had people argue with me, but I just look at it purely from like the hit points. I'm like, a 20th level Beast companion has 80 hit points.
I just don't like that you can only attack with the Beast or yourself.
But the Beast is your weapon.
That part bothers me.
What Doug
yeah, but if I have an animal, there's a good chance we're both gonna attack. And like, if I have a dog and I'm fighting someone, my dog, which I do have a dog, my dog's probably gonna bite him too. Like, it's not gonna wait until it's the dog's turn.
It feels weird.
Yes, it does.
And I think that
it doesn't work for me.
When they revise the Ranger, that is one of the things that they're fixing, where instead of the Ranger himself getting a bunch of attacks, you kind of like split them back and forth between you and the Beast Companion.
For sure. So I do have to run, but I do want to mention one other thing that I have going on. I am going to be doing a podcast. We're going to put it on video and audio with Jarl of Goats, and the name of it's going to be The Fathers of Tabletop. Which right now we have a Facebook page, just put it up recently, but I'm hoping within the next couple weeks we'll have a buyer's guide for Christmas. So hopefully in about 2 weeks. I'm not sure how many items. But we're just going to be, and we got our name. I want to quickly touch on that. It's not because we think we're like the godfathers of tabletop or anything like that, but we're both fathers. And so one of the things, our biggest hurdles are finding time to game. And so as fathers, you know, we're probably going to talk about some of the complications of trying to do that. But basically, it's a general RPG podcast that, you know, I'm big into 5th edition, so I'll probably talk about that. Jarl of Goats sounds like he plays a lot of other games, so he's probably going to talk about a lot of those. But yeah, we think it'll be entertaining, and hopefully you guys will go over to the Facebook page like that, or maybe go join my Master the Game Facebook group.
Which, you know, we've links in the description. I'll have to grab the Fathers of Tabletop, and I'll put that in the description as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's your YouTube channel, to the Facebook group, Twitter. So there's definitely ways to connect with Juce. He's a great guy, fun guy to game with. So go check him out. And I want to thank you for coming on, Juce. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. And until next time, guys, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.